hair journey.
Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Janet. I'm a natural hair vlogger. I have a YouTube channel called CentricSista, and also my Instagram is CentricSista, and I dedicate that to natural hairstyles, tutorials, and stuff like that. I started my journey about 2 years ago, and so far it has been great. And I just started documenting everything I was doing, and that's how I got started.
Hi, my name is Kimba. I actually have a blog. It's called FleurDeCurl.com. I've been natural for about 6 years now. I started with transitioning, then I decided to big chop, and then I big chopped again about a month ago. My blog is dedicated to just natural hairstyles, products that I use, just talking about just the culture of Black women in general, makeup, beauty, and things like that. And I'm actually from Lafayette, Louisiana.
Hi guys, my name is Paula Bland, and my Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube channel name is naturallygreer. I've been natural since 2009. I've had a product line that will be relaunching in the fall of this year, and I've been in the natural hair arena for a while. I am a chemist, but also a nurse practitioner, so the holistic approach of managing hair has always been very important to me. I can agree in totality with the cosmetologist that was up here earlier talking about the chemical makeup of your hair. That's very important for people to know, as well as what they're putting in their bodies that affect that chemical makeup of their hair. So I try to relay that message on my page and what I do with my hair on a consistent basis as well. So that's kind of how my channel got started, just out of the need. At the time, there wasn't a big diversified natural hair arena. You couldn't go in Target or Walmart at that time and just pick products off the shelf. It wasn't that easy when I first started realizing or wanting to go natural or wanting to embrace that aspect of myself. So I think it's just wonderful how many women have gone natural and how they are truly getting to know their own texture and getting to know how their hair can be and what it can be, and managing it on a holistic basis, not just, having hair, not knowing what to do with it. Basically trying to eat well, do well by themselves to manage their hair in a holistic form. And so that's what my channel's about, and that's what I'm about.
So this panel is specifically about transitioning. Now I know everyone is not bold to cut all of their hair off. I know I grew my hair out through protective styling. So do you think protective styling is a good way to transition?
Yeah, that's how I personally transitioned. It helped a lot because I didn't have to deal with the two textures, because once your new growth starts coming in and you have those straight ends, it can be really tough. Now, the only natural hairstyle that worked for me was Bantu knot outs, and even that, with humidity and everything, the relaxed ends, even though it would be curled, it would go right back straight, and nothing was working for me. So I protective style back to back to back, and then in between I would just do the Bantu knot outs, and I did that for about 8 months before I couldn't take it anymore, and I just big chop. So yeah, protective styling helps a lot while transitioning. You just have to do it safe, making sure your braids are not too tight, because even while you're still transitioning, your hair is still sensitive and you can still break your hair off. So I say do protective styling, but just make sure that you're also doing it carefully, your braids not being too tight, taking care of your hair underneath your protective style. Don't keep it in too long. Personally, I don't go over 6 weeks, because that's when your hair starts to mat and then it gets tangled up, it gets dirty. And so yeah, it's great for transitioning, but just try to do it the right way.
I think we're constantly transitioning. So I just had a baby, she's 6 months now, so my hair's transitioning again. I have length to my hair, but some things I'm trying to avoid from doing with my hair, so that's why I have this protective style at this time. And I think it's always good to have a protective style regimen. You don't always have time to do your hair. You don't always have time to manage your hair. I tell people, if you don't have at least 2 hours to devote to your hair, if you're going to do your hair by yourself, don't rush the process. Because if you rush, you're going to have breakage. You're going to, you're going to skip things that you should pay attention to. You're going to comb your hair too quickly. You're going to pull or yank on your hair and cause some type of alopecia maybe to form, whether tension or not, in some form or fashion. So, you really have to just be careful of how you manage your hair, as well as who you have in your hair managing your hair. So protective styling is always a good thing to have in your repertoire. You should never always just wear your hair free or out, just because your ends are always compromised when it's in the New Orleans humidity. So, the transitioning part of it all, I say, yeah, I did wear a lot of protective styles while I transitioned, just because at that time, like I said, I really wasn't comfortable with wearing my hair out. I didn't become comfortable with it until later on. So for the first 6 to 8 months, I just used protective styling to kind of get through it all.
So what do you think are some mistakes? We'll start with you at the end. What do you think are some mistakes that people do when transitioning? Some big no-nos.
Well, basically braiding too tight or leaving the braids in too long. I'm very active, so I don't leave a certain style in for too long because I sweat a lot. And just not being knowledgeable about their hair. Since they have two different textures, you have to treat a certain texture a different way. Which she said earlier, braiding is good for that because it hides it, but you have to be cognizant of just who's putting the braids in, how long you have them in, how tight they are, if it's causing more damage or doing more bad than good, basically.
Anybody else have some big no-nos?
I have such a pet peeve with
What?
people using edgers. Oh my God, wax pomade edgers.
What,
and they'll
edge
use it
control?
like back to like here.
Wait, explain what I don't understand.
Like pomade edgers, like on a consistent, like daily basis. Like that's just smothering your follicle. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like when you have braids and stuff in it, people put that edge
that
control
baby
on,
hair?
and they just keep plastering it on and on. It's like, you gotta wash that off. You gotta like move it off of the follicle to like, because you're not gonna have no edges. Like,
So you think that breaks your edges off?
oh, it definitely does.
Okay.
It does. You gotta watch what edger you used. Sometimes they're not always the best.
I just wanted to add that transition can be very frustrating. So just keep that in mind and also do your research. If you go on YouTube and you see transition hairstyles and if you try them and they fail, which I'm speaking from experience, literally everything I tried failed except for Bantu not outs, just know that this is just, the journey is not the destination. It's just something you have to go through to get to, eventually to get to your big chop. So yeah, I just want, if somebody's transitioning or thinking about transitioning, just keep in mind that you're gonna need a lot of patience because it can be very frustrating dealing with those two textures. But just keep your goal in mind, and that's all that matters. And yeah, protective styling also really helps. And depending on the length of your hair, you do not have to protective style with extensions, braids, or weaves and stuff like that. If your hair is long enough, you can protective style with your own hair. You can do buns, you can do the goddess twists or the halo braids. And as long as you keep your hair moisturized and your ends tucked in some kind of way, you'll be okay.
I feel like a big issue with people that are transitioning where they get annoyed is waiting for their hair to grow. Like, even if you do the big chop, people are obsessed with the hair growing long. And I remember I was at another natural hair event, they were like, do not do length checks. That's not productive. So what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, you have to enjoy the journey. It's a new you. You have to be familiar with your texture because you'll have different textures within your head. And that's also important when you do the big chop or have somebody do the big chop, because that was one of my issues. A lady who big chopped me, cut my hair down from like 6 inches to 2 because my textures were different, and she kept telling me, you still have perm, you still have perm. So, and I don't have perm, it's just not the same as the other part of my head. So, you know, you have to be familiar with your texture and see exactly what you want to do with your hair before you do go through that process of big chopping or whatever. But I mean, the texture, your texture and, you know, how your hair comes is just something that you're going to have to start learning how to manage on your own somewhat. And you won't always be able to have somebody else manage it for you in every form of fashion. So, you know, it's good to know how to do some things with your hair.
And just going off of what she said, if you're not comfortable, then maybe it's not a good time to make that decision to do that. That's what I realized whenever I did my transition 6 years ago. I was ready for it. And after I transitioned for a little while, I knew that I was ready to chop it off because I was comfortable with myself. I was comfortable with the way that I looked. I was confident in the way that I looked with my hair short. So if it's something that, you know, you feel like you're not comfortable with, maybe you just want to take a little while longer just to get comfortable with yourself, find styles that'll, you know, help you out, that'll give you the confidence that you need to go head on and do the transitioning or chopping.
I just wanted to add, you also have to go through this for the right reasons. If you're only thinking about transitioning to natural hair because you saw somebody's hair and you want your hair to look exactly like that, that is one guaranteed way for you to be disappointed. So comparing your hair with other people's hair is not going to help. When it comes to growth and length, everybody's hair is different. It's based on what your mama and your daddy gave you genetically, and hair care and products. That's how I see it in that order. So if you see that you big chopped at the same time with somebody and 3 months later they have waist length hair and your hair grew like 2 inches, don't be disappointed because everybody's hair is different. So when it comes to growth, as long as you know you're taking care of your hair and it's healthy, that's all that matters. Length will follow. It's just a matter of patience.
And I will say, my personal hair journey, my hair does grow faster natural than it did with the relaxer. But I don't know if that's the same for everybody. Did you all have relaxers before?
Yeah.
Did you find it grows faster natural?
Personally, my relaxed hair grew long too. It just wasn't healthy. It would always get to a certain point and then break off. And it just kept doing that on and on and on. But with my relaxed hair, with my natural hair, I'm able to retain more length without as much breakage as I did with relaxed hair.
And mine was kind of the same as hers. Like it would get to a length and then it would just pop. And then, you know, I always had thick hair, but it would never get past the point.
Yeah, and it was always thin. It was never thick. I couldn't get it to be thin, and always a certain spot that would just break off, and I just didn't know what to do.
So we are going to wrap up this panel. Any final words for the ladies in the audience that are transitioning?
Yeah, just basically what I said before. Understand that hair growth, for me, this is how I see it. The most important thing is genetics. It's whatever you're born with determines how fast your hair grows, your hair texture, porosity, thickness, density, all that. So you have to love and accept what you have naturally first before, you know, you begin to start this journey. You have to love and accept whatever you have naturally. And then the next thing is hair care, how well you take care of your hair to keep whatever you have healthy. And then next after that is the products that you're using. So just keep that in mind. It's genetics, hair care, and then products. I know, like, these days, they mostly make it about products. Buy this or buy that. This will make your hair grow. This will do that. Yes, products are great. They keep our hair moisturized. They keep our hair laid and all that good stuff. But it is not what is making your hair grow. It's how well you utilize those products and how well you take care of your hair.
And one thing I have to add on to that is just be patient. One of my coworkers told me going natural is like taking care of a plant. You just have to wait for it to grow. You have to nurture it. You have to take care of it and just wait for it to grow. And just like she said, not everyone's hair is the same. So if you see someone else's hair growing faster than yours, or it's a different texture than yours, don't be discouraged, because whenever you're done with your journey, or whenever you get to a point or a peak in your journey, you'll notice that you'll start to love your texture and be able to manage your hair differently, but kind of like in the same way that they're able to do so as well.
I think my just last word of wisdom or whatever is just don't get caught up on the length. And like I said, enjoy the process, kind of enjoy the stages that your hair goes through, because sometimes when it's shorter, it'll do more. When it's longer, it'll do less. You may get better curl definition when it's like in that in-between stage. So just enjoy the process so you can see, I like my hair like this kind of more than when it had all this length to it. So let me go back to this kind of thing instead of just waiting for it to get to a certain length because that's what you saw somebody have, or you saw, you know, some other person out there on YouTube or on Instagram have this style and you just waited for that. It's all about the actual process and journey of it.
All right, thank you, ladies. We have a question in the audience about transitioning really briefly. No? Okay, well, good. Well, thank you, ladies, for being on this panel. Great information.